Okay, everybody. It's just going to be another one of those days, I think. Another one of those days when you've just got surprises to deal with. All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me for another fabulous edition of In the Booth. I am Jim Bunner, your host, America's greatest journalist. Okay. Yeah, it's one of those days that is just going to be absolutely full of surprises. I didn't think today was going to be such a busy news day, for Pete's sake. Gosh, what have we got going on? We've got the sham trial with Donald Trump. We've got Israel and Iran potentially going to war with each other. And for Pete's sake, the Coyotes are leaving Arizona. Can you believe how much tragedy we've got going on all over? Okay, I don't know. Am I going to be able to get all this done in one news day? Is this at all possible that I can cover all of these things in 1 hour long show? Well, it's a challenge, and I'm up for the challenge. I bet I can get it done. Okay, folks, but probably the biggest news story in the country, although I don't know, it's kind of fading now that we've got the Trump trial and we've got the Israel-Hamas war. Well, Israel-Hamas war, that's been going on, but now we got a potential war between Israel and Iran. We don't know what's going on with that. I don't know. This is starting to lose its steam in the news, but it's still pretty big. I mean, we've got how many rallies took place over the weekend across the state of Arizona for all these pro-choice people to come out and say that they don't like the Arizona abortion law. How many? Wasn't it like 70 this weekend, I think? And of course, we got a visit from Kamala Harris. She came down to Tucson to talk about pro-choice issues. Yeah, of course, we do remember when she wouldn't visit the border because she hadn't been to Europe either. But by golly, she will come to Tucson now that abortions have pretty much been banned in Arizona. All right, well, joining us today, we've got a very special guest. We've had her on the show in the past, but this would be a perfect topic to get some information about. The one and only Cathi Herrod is joining me today on In the Booth. She is the leader of the organization called the Center for Arizona Policy. Cathi, thanks a lot for coming on In the Booth today.
Well, thank you. Glad to be with you.
Okay. Well, first off, just give us a little bit of information. Again, what is the Center for Arizona Policy? What is it that you guys do?
Well, Center for Arizona Policy promotes and defends foundational principles of the sanctity of human life, marriage, family, parents' rights, educational freedom, and religious freedom. A lot of our focus is on the state capitol and advocating for good bills and opposing bad bills.
All right. So you guys would know a lot about this, about what's going on with the Arizona abortion ban and, you know, what the opponents of it are trying to do to change it.
Yes, it's been quite the ride the last week.
Okay, Cathi, explain to me a little bit about what's going on with this. I guess Ruben Gallego, for example, says that we need to codify something now because he doesn't happen to like the abortion ban. Chris Mays says she's not going to enforce the law when it comes to doing whatever with doctors who perform abortions, and now somebody wants to put something on the ballot this year for people in Arizona to vote on. Tell me a little bit about what's going on with all of this.
Sure. Well, first, let's talk about the law that's at issue. Arizona has what I call a pre-Roe law. It's a law that was in effect the day that Roe versus Wade was handed down by the U.S. Supreme Court and legalized abortion in all 50 states. And that law says that abortion basically is not legal unless necessary to save the life of the mother. And the legislature has never repealed the law. So what the Arizona Supreme Court did a week ago was they made a decision based on statutory construction without getting into the weeds too much. They basically said that pre-Roe law is good law for Arizona. They gave Planned Parenthood 2 weeks to file another measure that would be on constitutional grounds. So now the upheaval or what everyone seems to be so worked up about is that abortion in Arizona would not be legal unless necessary to save the life of the mother. And as a pro-life leader, this was a victory. As a constitutional follower or even as a lawyer, the court made the right decision. They didn't make law. They left it to the policy people, meaning lawmakers and the people. So now in the Arizona legislature, there's an effort by Democrats and a handful of Republicans to move to repeal that law so that it could not take effect. So that's kind of what's going on. And the House and Senate go in on Wednesday, and we will see what happens then.
Okay. Do you know anything about this ballot measure that I guess has gotten 500,000 signatures? Are they trying to have it so that abortion is legal in all cases according to what people will vote on?
Yes. So the proposed constitutional amendment is called Arizona for Abortion Access. Using the word access is very intentional, designed to scare people that abortion would not be available. And this measure, what we say is that, reasonable people may disagree on abortion, but the Abortion Access Constitutional Amendment would bring in unrestricted and unregulated abortion to our state. So, majority of people still support measures like parental consent for a minor to have an abortion, or she has to go to court to get a court order to have an abortion. Things like regulating abortion clinics, having that 24 hours before a woman has an abortion, she has to be given information about the risk and alternatives to the procedure. That it has to be a doctor that performs or provides the abortion. This proposed abortion access amendment would change all of that. It basically grants a fundamental right to an abortion to every individual, and it says that government cannot deny, restrict, or interfere with that fundamental right. Now the other side, the pro-abortion side, will try to say, well, it's only abortion up until viability, with viability, of course, being the moment at which the baby can live outside the mother's womb. But you have to look very closely at the language, because it allows a treating healthcare professional, that's the term that they use, to determine if the mental health of the mother would allow the abortion after viability. And, we've known from the almost 50 years of Roe versus Wade governing abortion law in this country that mental health can mean anything or nothing. And so this treating healthcare professional, that's not a doctor, not someone necessarily qualified to make that determination. Arizona law says a treating healthcare professional can be a chiropractor, a podiatrist, a whole range of so-called healthcare professionals. So that's where we say that it's unrestricted, unregulated abortion. And it's just not where Arizona is at. The other thing that's deeply troubling about the language is it says that government cannot punish anyone who aids or assists the individual in getting an abortion. So when you stop and think about that, that's the sex trafficker, the sex abuser, who takes the 14-year-old to an abortionist to cover up his crime. And that's the thing I think should concern voters the most, that you'd be covering the human trafficker, the sex trafficker, could not be punished for whatever he might do to coerce a woman or a 14-year-old to having an abortion. So that's deeply concerning. And then I also think, most moms and dads want to know if their 14 or 15-year-old girl or 16-year-old daughter is considering having an abortion. And this grants that 14 or 15-year-old a fundamental right to an abortion, and parents have no right to have any knowledge of it or to provide any consent. So it's very far-reaching. It goes far beyond Roe versus Wade.
Okay, Cathi, I think that I saw a poll recently saying that only 7% of Arizona voters support the law how it is. Okay, well, if I'm a guy, for example, who believes that abortion should not happen in cases of rape or incest, apparently I am somebody who's clear over on the fringe. I'm part of the 7%. And what it seems to me is that most Arizona voters are not, with me on this, that they would keep the law the way it is. I think most Arizona voters are saying that the law is too extreme. But from what you're telling me, what's being proposed to be put on the ballot before Arizona voters is clear over on the other extreme. Are people going to vote for this? I'm curious. I mean, would Arizonans vote for allowing abortion to be legal in all cases, from what I understand what you're telling me?
Well, I don't believe so. And I think we can flip the poll results and say that, I don't have it in front of me, that 70 to 80% of Arizona voters support some form of restrictions on abortion, and so the support is not there for unlimited, unrestricted, unregulated abortion, and that's what this amendment would be. So I believe that when the voters read this language, when they hear what it really means, I think voters will say no. And I think you will have pro-choice voters who say, I believe abortion should be legal in certain circumstances, whatever that might be, but this measure goes too far. So that the campaign against the Abortion Access Amendment, it goes too far.com is the website. And that's the main point, that whether or not you think abortion should be legal or not, or what restrictions should be there, Arizonans do not support, Arizona values do not support the extreme nature of this proposed Abortion Access Amendment.
Okay, Cathi, what about some of our elected leaders? Now, I know that Governor Katie Hobbs has said she's not going to prosecute anybody for performing an abortion. I think Chris Mays has also said this. Ruben Gallego wants this to be codified, wants abortion rights to be codified. And now even Carrie Lake, apparently she said that abortion is a bad thing when she was campaigning, but once this decision came down from the Arizona Supreme Court, she released a statement saying that as a mother, I understand how difficult things are, and I'm calling on legislature, or whatever she said in her tweet, to change the law as it stands. Can we trust any of our political leaders to do the right thing and uphold the rights of the unborn?
It doesn't appear so these days. I mean, there is a committed group of lawmakers who will maintain their pro-life positions. But let me just say, Governor Hobbs and Attorney General Mays have made clear their extreme pro-abortion positions, and it is a dereliction of duty for the Attorney General of this state to say that she would never prosecute someone who performed an illegal abortion. I mean, it makes me wonder, in the late 90s when a Phoenix woman died after an abortion, when the doctor perforated her uterus and he was negligent, and he had a 5-year prison term at least. Does that mean that she wouldn't prosecute in that circumstance? Apparently so. And the same thing with Governor Hobbs. They are so focused on abortion. And of course, abortion is what the Democrats think they can use to take over our state. And that's just not what's on the mind of most voters. And I think, it's a time that pro-life lawmakers, those who have been pro-life, need to keep their word to the voters. And that's what I'm advocating for, is that if you've been pro-life, now is not the time that you grow faint or you abandon the pro-life movement. Now is the time that you keep the word, because let's not forget what this is about. It's about the lives of unborn children, precious unborn children, and the harm that abortion causes to their mothers. So, we in the pro-life movement, we stand for both babies, unborn babies, and their mothers, and we love them both. And that's what this is about, and we can't lose sight of that.
Okay, Cathi, so what are groups like the Center for Arizona Policy doing to combat some of these extreme measures?
Well, we support the It Goes Too Far campaign at itgoestofar.com. We do that through Center for Arizona Policy Action, and we are calling on lawmakers to not repeal the pre-Roe law. We're calling on lawmakers to keep their word. When they answered our voter guide in 2022 that they opposed abortion unless necessary to prevent the death of the mother, we're calling on lawmakers to not break their word.
All right. Well, Cathi Herrod with the Center for Arizona Policy, it was great to have you on In the Booth again, and hopefully we'll be hearing from you again sometime, Cathi.
Sure. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All right, folks, we are going to have more In the Booth action. That is coming up right after this.
Donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-639-8620. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It'll be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car. And as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. Call 1-800-639-8620. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-639-8620. That's 1-800-639-8620.
All right. We are back for the second segment of In the Booth for a fabulous Tuesday. Hey, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. I am Jim Bunner, America's greatest journalist, your host. Okay, so we just got done talking to Cathi Herrod of the Center for Arizona Policy about what is going on with abortion access here in Arizona and what that means for you. Apparently, somebody is trying to get something on the November ballot to put a vote to Arizona voters, but I guess this, whatever this thing is, this Arizona Abortion Access Act is basically just going to make abortion legal in all cases in Arizona. Okay, are Arizonans going to vote for this? Are Arizonans going to say abortion should be legal in all cases? You know, I wonder, would it make better sense to have different initiatives? Because, you know, like I said in the last segment, okay, I probably am on the fringe. I'm probably some right-wing wacko. I'm some nutcase. I am among only 7% of people in this state. Yes, okay, I like the law as it stands. Abortion should only be legal when the mother's life is in danger. I don't care about rape and incest. No, that should not be legal in the state of Arizona. Okay, fine. I am on the fringe. But I don't think that most Arizonans support abortion in all cases. I don't think that most Arizonans would support, I don't know, some 18-year-old just going out and getting an abortion without the parents' permission. Or as you know, Cathi mentioned, there are smugglers coming up from Mexico. You know, they're involved in the human traffic stuff, and they might force people into abortions or whatever Cathi might have been talking about. You know, other cases Cathi might talk about. All right, so we wouldn't support abortion in all cases. It might make better sense to put different choices on the ballot as opposed to one extreme or the other, because for all anybody knows, this thing that is on the ballot might just get shot down because it's basically just bringing Roe v. Wade back to Arizona. Now, there was something going on in which Republican lawmakers, I guess, tried, or they are trying to have some sort of another ballot initiative giving people different choices as far as in what cases abortion should be tolerated. But, well, their plans ended up going to the Democrats. Have you heard this? Republican lawmakers are considering options to defeat a citizens' ballot initiative this fall that enshrines the right to abortion access in the state constitution. The details of their strategy, were revealed in a PowerPoint presentation that was supposed to be circulated only among Republicans, but somehow it went to Democrat lawmakers. Let's see here. Unlike this citizens initiative, which just says we're going to legalize abortion in all cases, the GOP's Phase 1 proposal does not create a right to abortion. It's got two phases in it, with the first offering a ballot referral that constitutionally protects abortion restrictions that are already on the books, and the second phase would send a 15-week and a 6-week abortion ban to the ballot. Okay, so are we going to allow it in 15 weeks? Or are we going to allow it in 6 weeks? What are we going to be doing here with this? Yeah, that's the proposal going on. We're going to give the voters more choices, which I think would actually make better sense. Yeah, I mean, considering that not everybody in Arizona supports one extreme or the other, you know, from what I understand about this ballot initiative that's supposed to be put before voters this fall, it probably would be shot down because, okay, not everybody is going to support abortion in all cases, which is what this thing is. But whatever, we've got the law on the books. We can't decide on what we want the law to be, so who knows what's going to end up happening if people go and vote. Okay, the other big important story of the day is the West going to war with Iran? Okay, everybody knows all about this situation with Israel fighting against Hamas. We saw the October 7th attack and all of the violence. We saw babies' heads get cut off. Well, okay, hopefully you didn't actually see something like that, but we know what Hamas did to the Israelis, you know, and we're all hoping that Israel just crushes whatever threats are against their country. All these Iranian proxies that they're fighting with, Hamas. What is Hezbollah involved in all of this? Are they an Iranian proxy? I don't know. I'm sure that's what a lot of people over here are saying, is what's going on with those people in the Middle East? They're just fighting with each other. Well, I guess what ended up happening was the Israelis, they struck something important to the Iranians when fighting their proxies. So the Iranians tried to launch missiles to Israel, but then the Israelis had they had help from other countries to thwart the missiles, or something like that was going on over the weekend. So apparently now the Iranians nearly attacked Israel. There could end up being a big war between Israel and Iran. Iran's no longer just using their proxies to attack the Israelis. Yeah, all right. And I don't know, is this really true that Joe Biden knew the Iranians were about to attack and he told the Iranians, okay, just be nice about it? I don't know that maybe, is that believable? It could be. Well, probably the biggest thing that you need to know about this is that while America's support for Israel in this has not exactly been fantastic, or at least the American government's support in Israel and all of this has not been fantastic. What you need to know is that some of these people who believe that Israel, for whatever reason, is some evil imperialist country are now staging protests, and they're disrupting people's livelihoods. Yeah, people are having a tough time getting to and from airports. People are having a tough time getting to and from work because of all these people, I don't know, these free Palestine people. Have you heard all of this? Have you heard this about the Teamsters in Chicago? They were having some rally and somebody recorded somebody chanting in the Persian language, the Farsi language, death to Israel, death to America. Have you heard that audio? Yeah, that's gone on. Well, some of this could come to Arizona because it certainly has come to our neighbors to the west. The California Highway Patrol is warning the anti-Israel agitators that unlawful tactics will not be tolerated. Now, that's fascinating. I mean, considering that we hear so much about California allowing all kinds of other lawlessness to go on. I mean, illegal immigration, shoplifting. All right, but at least the California Highway Patrol is, from what I understand, from what I can tell right now, they're doing the right thing in stopping these anti-Israel protesters from doing the wrong thing. Now, the California Highway Patrol is warning that tactics used by unlawful anti-Israel protesters that temporarily blocked roads and created a traffic nightmare along the Golden Gate Bridge yesterday and along Interstate 880 in Oakland will not be tolerated. 38 people, according to the California Highway Patrol's Golden Gate Division, have been arrested following these incidents in which demonstrators held up a banner with the message, "Stop the World for Gaza." Stop the world for Gaza. Okay. What are they trying to do? Stop the world for Gaza. You know, when I hear something like that, when I read something like that, that makes me think that they want to shut down all commerce. They want to shut down everybody's livelihoods so that we all can see what's going on with the Palestinian people. I don't know. We're supposed to care about the plight of the poor Palestinians. We're not supposed to care about the October 7th attacks against the Israelis. I don't know. The Israelis are somehow the evil bad guys in all of this. All right. These people, these are the ones that they attached themselves to 55-gallon drums that were filled with concrete. Now, see, that's a unique way to protest. I guess what some people used to do in the 60s is they just laid down in front of cars so that cars wouldn't be able to move anywhere without running someone over. Officials say these protesters are facing numerous charges, including unlawful assembly, resisting and delaying officers, and false imprisonment. CHP said in a statement, attempting to block or shut down a freeway or state highway to protest is unlawful, dangerous, and prevents motorists from safely reaching their destinations. Let's see here. The Golden Gate Bridge protest that blocked the southbound lane. Officers had to contend with numerous vehicles utilizing chains concealed with pipes, connecting drivers and passengers outside of a vehicle. All right, so let's see here. Basically, what these people have been doing, and it hasn't just been in California. I mean, I'm sure that everybody out there has heard the news stories. There were some in Miami, New York, just basically all over the country. These people are just going nuts, supporting Gaza. I think supporting the Palestinians, basically anything. They're just against Israel for some strange reason. You know, just ignore the fact that Hezbollah attacked Israel on October 7th. The Israelis didn't provoke this, or at least, I don't know. I mean, other than what, there's still an evil occupation of Israel occupying the Palestinian land, even though Palestine itself was never actually a country. Okay, I don't know. I don't understand it. But while we're over here trying to figure out what we're going to do, our government is trying to figure out what to do concerning the potential conflict between Israel and Iran. These people are out protesting in favor of Gaza or the Palestinians or Hamas or whatever they're supporting. Okay, has anybody heard anything about this taking place in Phoenix? I mean, as if it isn't bad enough, the traffic in Phoenix, what the traffic in Phoenix is already like. You know, can some of these people come to Phoenix and attach themselves to barrels full of concrete and block up traffic on I-10? That I-10 is already a parking lot in rush hour traffic. Wouldn't that be horrible if these people did something like this? Yeah, because of some conflict clear over on the other side of the world that I'm sure Americans don't want to get too involved in, i.e. sending boots on the ground. Okay, well, what do you do if you are the U.S. government? I don't know that you strike Iran. I think that the support for Israel coming from our government has not been very good. I mean, we've heard this constantly. Joe Biden even has been pressuring Israel into a ceasefire. You don't ceasefire when something like this is taking place. Yeah, I don't think that I agree with that. Let the Israelis protect themselves. We don't like terrorist groups either. We don't support them. Why not let the Israelis fight back? Just let them do what they need to do. I don't think that the U.S. needs to attack Iran. I mean, can you imagine that? Okay, the Iranians, you know, if they're being attacked by the U.S., you know that Russia and China would support them. Russia is already fighting a war in Ukraine. We're supporting the Ukrainians. Russia would probably like to be able to divert attention away from America's support of Ukraine, so that the United States would want to fight Iran. And you know the Chinese would certainly support the Iranians because they're looking to attack Taiwan. Well, they might be. I don't know what's going on in the heads of the Chinese Communist Party. I can't read their minds, but I think Russia and China would support Iran in a potential war. You don't want this to escalate. I mean, it would potentially turn into World War III, wouldn't it? I mean, you got Russia fighting Ukraine. The Russians don't want the Americans to be supporting the Ukrainians. They would support Iran because they would want the United States to focus everything that we've got on Iran rather than Ukraine. The Chinese would do the same thing. I mean, all of these wars together, it would go back to World War I and the two different camps that Europe had put itself into before the war. And all these alliances just ended up working together to create a world war. Yeah, so, I don't know that we need to attack Iran, but I certainly wish that nobody in the U.S. government would call on the Israelis to agree to a ceasefire. Yeah, especially now that there's a possibility that Israel and Iran might officially be at war. But hey, that's just me. I was not allowed to serve in the U.S. military. The closest thing is I like to play strategy games on my computer. Okay, so probably my advice may not be the best advice in the world, but I I think certainly attacking Iran or going to war with Iran probably is not the best thing on planet Earth right now. Okay, folks. Speaking of our government, gosh, we've got an election going on, and we've got a silly court case involving one of the two presidential candidates. Well, yeah, probably the presidential candidate that might actually be better at dealing with some of these issues taking place around the world. Yeah, well, his political opponents are trying to keep him off the campaign trail with a bogus trial. Okay, folks, we're going to see what's going on with that trial coming up in the next segment of In the Booth.
Someone being bullied online, you can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets, and they all have one thing in common. Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard, that's optional. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Allison is perfect. I mean, she'd never tell you that. She's humble and perfect. She likes everyone. She even likes her untidy roommate's weird guinea pig. Allison, wait, are you texting and driving? Allison, no. That's the exact opposite of what I was just saying about you. Why, Allison? Why? Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
We are live outside the home of Joe and Rosie Goddard, where a pretty big tickle fight broke out just minutes ago. Sources say their father instigated the laughter. Let's go inside for a comment. Apparently, they have no comment. Dads, let this be a reminder that it only takes a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
All right, folks. We have come to the next segment of In the Booth. I am Jim Bunner, your host, America's greatest journalist. Okay, so the Trump trial. Which one? Yeah, I know that's what everybody is saying. Which one of these trials are we talking about today? Well, it's the one that's going on today. It's like the big breaking trial in which he, if I understand all of this correctly, Donald Trump is accused of, fudging the facts of how much his business was worth so that he could divert attention from some hush money that he sent to Stormy Daniels about an alleged affair that she was having with him while he was married. And I guess Stormy Daniels has said previously that she wasn't having the affair. So, okay, is her testimony accurate? Is this believable? Donald Trump has gone through a lot. All of us remember the nonsense with the Russian collusion. What else was there? He was impeached for having a phone call with Volodymyr Zelensky. He flat out was open about what was discussed during this phone call. There was nothing illegal. Even Zelensky said that there was nothing illegal that took place, but he was still impeached by Nancy Pelosi over absolute nonsense. Well, then there's January 6th. They won't shut up about January 6th, even though all the evidence about it says he had nothing to do with January 6th. He did not encourage anybody to become violent, but he was also impeached about that. And of course, Democrats still won't shut up about January 6th as if January 6th was somehow Donald Trump's fault. So we know Donald Trump has gone through a lot of absolute nonsense that, if this is the best that the Democrats can do, then they clearly don't have actual issues to run on. Okay. But now he's on trial for this other thing with this hush money situation with Stormy Daniels, and this is taking place right now in New York court. And, you know, if I get some of the information in this wrong, please forgive me. I really have not been paying a lot of attention to any of this. Most of it is just a non sequitur to me. I know that most of the, you know, even if he was guilty, of course, if he's guilty, no president is above the law. You know, do what needs to be done to him. But I don't think that he is guilty. I mean, that his political opponents have a pretty big track record of being wrong about his alleged criminality. Well, I found this fascinating. There's a guy named Elie Honig, if I'm pronouncing Ellie's name correctly, but he is, I guess, a big-time law guy, and he's a CNN contributor, and even he has said that this trial that Donald Trump is on is a bunch of legal phony baloney. Yeah, the judge in this is biased. Apparently a lot of the jurors were biased. We'll get into that in just a few seconds here, or a few minutes here. Well, some time, however long it takes me to get through this. But this guy, this legal eagle named Elie Honig, a former federal and state prosecutor, I guess is what the guy is. He's got an article in a publication called The Intelligencer that essentially says Donald Trump's trial is nothing more than psychological. Yeah, he calls it a Rorschach test. Okay, let's see here. Here is the article. Donald Trump is about to face trial for conduct that happened 8 years ago. If you have kids in college now, they may have been in elementary school when it all went down. The crime is a paperwork offense relating to how Trump and his businesses logged a series of perfectly legal hush money payments in their own internal records. Okay, perfectly legal hush money payments. Nothing illegal here. Trying to get Stormy Daniels to shut up about whatever. Apparently there's no crime. Perfectly legal. That's what Elie Honig says. The prosecution's star witness is a convicted perjurer and fraudster who openly spews vitriol at the defendant. That's Donald Trump. Often in grotesque terms, essentially for a living. Okay, so does the star witness have any credibility in a court of law? The famously aggressive feds at the Southern District of New York passed on the case years ago. They passed on the case. And current Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's predecessor could have indicted before he left office, but did not. Well, that sounds to me like this really is not a crime that needs to be prosecuted. This is a political witch hunt. Yeah, I mean, and this Elie Honig, he's a legal contributor to CNN. He's not exactly a MAGA hat wearing Trump Republican. Yeah, but I mean, even this guy, he knows the law. And he said all of this in this article in The Intelligencer. This trial is baloney. The charges are either misdemeanors or the lowest level felonies, and the vast majority of defendants convicted of similar offenses are sentenced to probation and fines, not prison. Okay, so this guy who knows more about this law than I do says that all these people who say they want to see Donald Trump go to jail, he's not likely to be going to jail for this. I mean, if the law is followed, can you imagine if this judge, let's say that the judge finds Donald Trump guilty. Let's just say, yeah, Donald Trump did all these bad things. Donald Trump is guilty of this. I'm putting him in jail for 20 years over this. Okay, I think that would fall under a violation of Donald Trump's Eighth Amendment right to no excessive fines or cruel and unusual punishment. That's what the Eighth Amendment is. You're going to lock somebody up for 20 years for something that most people don't even go to jail for. They just have probation and fines for this. That's basically what he's being charged with in this that's going on today. It's something that people pay fines for. This is silly. This is absolutely silly. And the hush money is legal. You can do stuff like this. You know, even this CNN legal analyst in this article flat out says you can do that sort of thing. This is not illegal. Donald Trump Ellie goes on to talk about this. Donald Trump is about to face trial for deceiving the American voters and attempting to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. The world had just heard the infamous Access Hollywood grab 'em tape. You remember that? Trump's campaign was reeling just weeks before Election Day. To keep his listing campaign from capsizing, Trump and his team paid off a porn star named Stormy Daniels to keep quiet about an alleged extramarital affair and then labeled those payments legal expenses. So his terrible crime in this was he said that the money paid to Stormy Daniels to get her to be quiet as he's running for president were legal expenses. That's the terrible, bloodthirsty crime that all these Democrats want to see Donald Trump go to jail for. Already the first American president or former president to face indictment, Trump could soon become the first to sustain a felony conviction, and it's possible he could lose the 2024 election and eventually wind up behind bars as a result. Okay, so this guy, Elie Honig, who's a CNN contributor, and he's got this article in The Intelligencer. He's not rooting for Donald Trump. Okay, even he says Donald Trump could be behind bars and he could lose the 2024 presidential election because of all of this. Okay, let's back this up. What Ellie flat out said in this article, he said that, these are mostly misdemeanors. People don't go to jail for them. It's hush money is legal. Yeah, basically Donald Trump is just in trouble for saying that the hush money were legal payments. That's what this is. This is silly. This is tiny. But even Elie Honig says that Donald Trump could go to jail and lose the 2024 election. No, he won't. Okay, people still want to vote for Donald Trump. You know what? If he goes to jail, all the Trump supporters are still going to support him. He'll be like Eugene V. Debs, running a presidential campaign from behind bars, and he could be the first president to serve as president behind bars. Well, he shouldn't, of course. All of this is absolutely silly. It's just as silly as when he was impeached over January 6th. He did nothing wrong in that. He didn't encourage anybody to become violent, but Democrats just want to blame him for it because he's him. Now, this is not going to prevent Donald Trump from winning the 2024 election. What would prevent Donald Trump from winning would be if the economy is still humming right along. Okay, people are complaining about high gas prices and inflation. Yes, Americans are suffering, but let's remember now, Americans also have jobs. So it's kind of a difficult thing to see what people's attitudes on the economy are and how their attitudes on the economy is going to affect how they vote. Could it be that all these polls, if you take a look at realclearpolitics.com, all these polls showing Donald Trump just going to sweep all the swing states and win in the Electoral College, could they be accurate? But all of a sudden, let's say Joe Biden still wins the popular vote because New York and California overwhelmingly vote for Biden. That's not impossible. But I certainly don't think this sham trial that's going on is going to harm Donald Trump. If he gets elected, he's going to get elected one way or the other here. Let's see here. What else? Oh, now there was another really great article from the BBC. And this is another thing that I think is going to drive Trump voters to get out and vote for Trump this year. It's not just the baloney charges that are up against Donald Trump in this. It's the fact that he may not be able to even get a fair trial in New York. And even the BBC, for heaven's sake, this publication clear over on the other side of the Atlantic, even the BBC understands this. They've got a great article. It just came out 20 hours ago. There's a difficult hunt for 12 unbiased jurors in the historic Trump trial. Okay, listen to this. Hundreds of prospective jurors from across Manhattan are facing similar vetting in the coming days as lawyers seek to compose a fair panel in the first ever criminal trial of a former president. Donald Trump is accused of falsifying his business records to disguise a hush money payment made shortly before the 2016 election to an adult film star with whom he allegedly had an affair. Okay, now let's remember, hush money is legal. And he only allegedly had an affair. An affair is not illegal either. She previously said she didn't have an affair with him. Let's take all that into consideration. All right. But it will be up to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and Mr. Trump's legal team to find 12 New Yorkers capable of setting aside their feelings about Mr. Trump to give him a fair trial. Apparently, like the first 50 people that were asked in this, the judge asked 50 people who were chosen for jury duty in this, can you be fair and unbiased? And like 50 of them just flat out said, no, we cannot. So they were already removed from this. Let's take a look here. The jury process involved several stages that could last well over a week. And because of the high-profile nature of the trial, as many as 500 people from Manhattan and Roosevelt Island could be chosen as prospective jurors. Let's see here. Yeah. Well, is he going to get a fair trial in New York? Now, see, that's the other thing that's going to drive Trump voters to go out and vote for him. Are people in New York, 90% of people in Manhattan are going to vote for Donald Trump. They didn't vote for Donald Trump. Most of them don't like the guy. Is the trial itself even fair? Well, yeah, it's looking more and more all the time like political persecution. It's just plain silly is what it is. And it shows the Democrats really don't have anything else to run on. I mean, look at how big they're getting on this abortion ruling in Arizona. They're going nuts about that. Can't you guys run on the economy? Can't you guys run on immigration? Can't you guys run on foreign policy? Things that people actually care about. Okay, well, apparently they can't. So they have to have this witch hunt in New York for Donald Trump. Folks, we're going to wrap up in the booth in just a little bit, so stay tuned.
The storks are bringing me a baby brother. We can do this together.
All right, let's go.
Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
What?
Oh my gosh, you don't know.
I know.
You don't. Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No.
Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this.
You will rock this.
To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
Cool. Very cool.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan. We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was
the
fine.
most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Message.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Folks, we are back for the final segment of In the Booth. I am Jim Bunner, America's greatest journalist, your host. Okay, so what do we need to do to relax? I mean, we've got all of this just absolute mess going on. Just a complete mess. I mean, we've got the Donald Trump trial. We've got potential war between Israel and Hamas. We got all this going on with the election. You know what? I think we ought to just go do something fun. We should just relax. Let's go to a hockey game. That'll be a fun recreational activity, shouldn't we? Well, apparently, if you want to get your mind off of all of the nonsense taking place around us and just enjoy hockey, I guess if you live in Phoenix, you're going to have to drive all the way up to Salt Lake City for it. Or, I don't know, I guess, people could drive all the way out to Las Vegas. You could watch the Knights. You could drive all the way out to Anaheim, go see the Ducks. But if you want to watch the Coyotes, you're going to have to do it in Salt Lake City, but the Coyotes, what are they doing? They're keeping the name and the logo are remaining in Phoenix while the team relocates. Has anybody seen this? This is strange. Okay, this is, I don't understand what is going on with this. The Arizona Coyotes in their current iteration are relocating to Salt Lake City, but Coyotes owner Alex Morello is continuing to pursue building a $3 billion arena and entertainment project in North Phoenix with the possibility of resurrecting the franchise. At least that's according to an NHL source on Friday night. Morello said over the weekend, "We are focused on a myriad of issues that are unresolved, and therefore we're unable to make any official public comments at this time. However, you have my commitment that I am going to speak to all the issues and publicly address your concerns as promptly as possible." Now, from what I understand, Morello, he's selling the franchise to the guy who owns the Utah Jazz, but they're still keeping the Coyotes name, the logos, trademarks, and ownership of the Tucson Roadrunners. Okay, so are they going to be the Salt Lake City Coyotes? Are they supposed to be the Utah Coyotes? Some of this I don't really understand. But basically, the Coyotes are leaving Phoenix, which is sad. That is sad. I mean, I've gone to a lot of Coyotes games over the years. I've had the people who work for the Coyotes, they've tried to sell me season tickets a couple times. Yeah, I go to that many games. These people think that I want to buy season tickets. No, I just go out because it's fun. That's what I tell them. Well, now, okay, there's not going to be hockey in Phoenix. Or at least not NHL hockey. I don't know. Maybe you have some little league team somewhere that you can go watch. But yeah, having the Coyotes here was great. It's one of those things that you don't really appreciate until it's gone. I enjoyed going out to games. I'm not a Coyotes fan. I couldn't get attached to the Coyotes, but it was fun to at least go to games just to get out and have something to do in the springtime. Yeah, but that's not going to be an option anymore. You got to watch them on TV, and they're going to be the Salt Lake City, Utah Coyotes. If I understand this correctly. Well, conventional wisdom would say if you want to enjoy the Coyotes one last time, they are playing the Oilers tomorrow night. Was it the Oilers or is it the Canucks? I thought that it was the Oilers. Oh, that's right. The Edmonton Oilers. They're coming to town tomorrow night, and the Coyotes are going to play the Edmonton Oilers one final time before they leave Phoenix and go up to Salt Lake City. Well, apparently it makes no sense to go to Mullet Arena and watch the Coyotes play because the tickets for this final game are just through the roof. Somebody is trying to make money off the Coyotes as they leave. Let's see here. The last game of the season is tomorrow at Mullet Arena in Tempe against the Edmonton Oilers. And ticket prices for their last game in the Valley are just going up. Let's see here. How much is it going to cost you on Ticketmaster and other resale websites? It'll be extremely hard to find tickets for less than $500 each. That's what this news story is saying about the Coyotes leaving. Coyotes merchandise is selling quickly at local sports stores too. Yeah, the Coyotes are leaving. Let's see here. Wow, one guy even says that there's tickets running for like $3,000 just to go and watch the Coyotes, just to watch them play one final time. So yeah, it might make the best sense in the world to not watch the final Coyotes game in Mullet Arena. I mean, $500 for a ticket, that's absurd. Okay, well, our final story of the day, folks. Those of us who were old enough to remember the OJ Simpson trial, when OJ was on trial, the trial of the century that shocked the nation, divided the nation, that we're still talking about almost, what is it? Has it been 30 years now? Yeah, because I think that it ended in, 29 years. I think it was 1995 was when it officially ended. Yeah, well, okay. It ended 29, 30 years ago. We're all still talking about it today. And gosh, you remember that when OJ said Nicole's killer is out there somewhere and I'm going to do everything to find the killer? Well, I think OJ can rest assured knowing that his ex-wife killer is finally dead. Yeah, OJ Simpson died at the age of 76 after a cancer battle. On April 10th, he succumbed to his battle with cancer. That's what Simpson's X account said on Thursday of last week. He was surrounded by his children and grandchildren. During the time of this transition, the family is asking people to respect their privacy, et cetera, et cetera. Well, OJ passed away. So I guess now everybody could probably agree that Nicole Brown's killer has finally died. So OJ can be happy that his ex-wife's murderer is gone. Yeah, for those of you who weren't alive during the OJ Simpson trial, I don't know, maybe somebody out there is 24 years old listening to this broadcast. This was a really big trial. It's one of those things, it's like 9/11. It's one of those events that everybody remembers where they were when it took place. I remember I was a high school freshman in a Spanish class. We stopped the Spanish class to watch what was going on with the OJ Simpson trial. And I remember some kid in my class asked if OJ Simpson was wondering if he should go out for Chinese food this afternoon. Yeah, I think some of us anticipated that OJ was probably going to end up getting away with this. I mean, he had all kinds of evidence against him. There was a dog with bloody paws. There was blood found. He had motivation for doing this. Ron Goldman was driving around his Ferrari when and that made him jealous. I guess he took Cato Kalin out for a cheeseburger that night of the murder so that Cato Kalin wouldn't tell anybody that he was about to kill Nicole. OJ faked not being able to put a glove on his hand that was found at the scene. He led police on a slow chase in a white Bronco. Yeah, everybody remembers that one. Yeah. And then Cato Kalin, of course, committed suicide afterwards, from what I remember about it. I guess Cato Kalin understood that the jig was up, that he couldn't handle the stress of all of this. Yeah, OJ had all kinds of evidence against him, but he got away with murder. I think everybody today, 29 years later, almost 30 years later, can agree that O.J. Simpson did get away with murder. Okay. Well, everybody, that is going to do it for another edition of In the Booth. And these people, they were all saying, run, OJ, run. They're all happy that he got away with it. Well, then he had his little incident in Las Vegas almost 10 years later, in which he did finally get some jail time. And I remember I had a roommate at the time. He said if OJ, nothing happens to him after this, then there's no justice. Yeah, I mean, even all of us knew he was a murderer, got away with murder. Even the people that had sympathy for him. Yeah, and this was even a trial that divided the country along racial lines. Yeah, the people who wanted OJ to get away with murder, they said that this was somehow some racist ploy by the LAPD to keep a black man down. Well, the evidence showed that the content of OJ's character was that he was a murderer. Yeah, so I think reasonably and logically, the people who were wanting OJ to go to jail or get the death penalty for what he clearly did were the people who were judging people based on the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. But anyway, the man who murdered OJ's ex-wife, Nicole Brown, is finally dead. Yeah, and her lover, Ron Goldman. All because Ron was driving around OJ's Ferrari. Okay, folks, that's going to do it for another fabulous edition of In the Booth. I am Jim Bunner, America's greatest journalist, and we'll be back on next week with more fun stuff to talk about in the news. So make sure to tune in. Have a great week, everybody.